Okay, so as another example of recursion, I'd like to write a factorial function. You guys all know what factorial is? Give me a yay or nay on that. Show of hands for know what factorial is. Show of hands for don't know what factorial is. Okay, cool. Enough don't know that we'll explain. So 6 factorial, right, is defined to be 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Right? So the way this works is that when you're calculating the factorial of a positive integer, right? So a counting number, the way you do that is you take the number itself and then you multiply by all the numbers smaller than it until you get to 1, going down by ones. You guys see that? Okay, so I would like to write a quick factorial calculator. And to do that, I need, well, what the heck? I'll take most of this setup thing. And I think I really should be able to just get away with a setup method. Okay, so I stole a setup method from somewhere. And then I need to write a function that I'm going to call fact. And yeah, this is really a method, but in this case, I'm kind of thinking about it as a function. Right? So factorial is going to take, what did I say factorial worked for? Positive integers. So I need an integer that this thing's going to accept. So the function factorial is going to take an integer, and what's it going to return? I wrote void here, but that's probably not right. Yeah, it's going to make a different integer. You guys see that? How am I sure it's an integer, not a float? Good. If you multiply 2 integers together, you get an integer. So if you multiply a lot of integers together, you still get an integer. Oh, God. Okay, so, and it's whining, this method must return a result of type int. Oh, yeah, because right now it's returning what? Yeah, I told this to return an integer, but it's not returning anything right now because I haven't told it to return anything. So, let me case this out a little bit. So, if n is bigger than 1, then we're probably going to need to do something. And else, we can probably just, what? I'm going to tell it to return 1. The reason for that is that when I get to the end, I'm going to want that last one to be a 1. You guys see that? Really, I should probably do some error checking on this thing, because right now I could pass this a negative number. If I pass this a negative number, what should it do? Yeah, probably it should say, dude, what are you doing? I don't know how to do that, right? But error checking's a little advanced for today, so I'm just going to have it kick back 1. Right? Because it didn't make any sense anyway, so what I returned doesn't make much sense. That's fine. So, if n is bigger than 1, what do I need to return? So, if somebody passes 6 to this thing, you want to have 6 times something, right? So you'll want n times. And then what's all this stuff down here? You see that? What's 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1? In terms of a factorial.
In terms of math, it's 5 times 4 times 3 times 2.
Yeah, in terms of math, it's 5 times 4 times 3 times 2, which is something about not 6 anymore, but now about 5.
So
You guys
it's
see
now
that?
5
Yeah, that's really 5 factorial, right? So I could think about 6 factorial as being 6 times 5 factorial. You guys see that? So the factorial for a number, I should return the number times the factorial called on the next number down. So I should call factorial on n minus 1 and return that. You guys see this? This is going to do a weird thing, right? What it's going to do when I pass it, say, 6, right? So if I do factorial of 6, what I expect it to do is try to return 6 times factorial done to 5, right? But factorial done to 5 isn't a number, so it can't return it. It has to do the function first. And so that's going to be returning 6 times 5 times factorial of 4, which is going to return 6 times 5 times 4 times, factorial done to 3. You guys see this? And it's not going to actually return anything until this thing gets to, until that thing gets to 1. You guys see that? And then it's going to return 1. Really, it's going to return 1 when that thing gets to 2, right? So it's going to, Sorry, no. It's going to return 1 when that thing gets to 1. So how do I test this?
Run it.
Yeah, just run it somewhere. Where am I going to run it? I'm going to run it setup, I guess. Let's see. So I should make a text output. Is that the easiest way to check this? Yeah, println's way easier. But I made this cool window, so I'm gonna output it as text because I can. Let's see, and I'm gonna do that at width over 2, comma height over 2. How does the text thing work again?
It's the value of the coordinates.
Okay, so it's the thing you want to print. So I'm gonna print factorial of 6 at width over 2, comma height over 2, and I probably should change my text align. Yeah, so I'm going to change my text align to center. Oops. Shoot. And I'm going to change my text size to, what's a reasonable text size?
600.
Okay, I'll go big, but I'm not going to go 600 big. So I expect this to do, oh, why is it broken?
It isn't.
It isn't. I'm an idiot.
Text color?
Yeah.
It's white.
Right. Remember the default color for text is white. So you need to switch your fill, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, duh. I really should just write a random color method and then just include it in all my code.
Yeah, you know you're gonna need it.
You should just use a random method.
Oh, that's a great idea. You could just call a random method. Is 720, is that right?
Yeah.
I should check with something smaller. Don't be silly. 3.
No, wait. 6, no. Oh, this can't read.
3 should be 3 times 2 times 1 is 6. 6? Yes.
It gets really weird when you plug in higher numbers.
It gets weird when you plug in higher numbers. What do you
Yeah.
mean?
It starts going into the negatives and then 0.
That shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, what's up there? Why did it return 0? Because that number's too big for the type integer.
Oh, right.
Use the double.
Yeah, so that just got too big. And it should be noted that text boxes don't like doubles. So, whatever.
You can have count that back to an int.
I probably should include a comment in my code here. Like,
This is bad.
this gets dorked if the number is too big.
Yeah, 20 is negative 2 billion. Or 2 billion.
Yeah, so it should be noted this function grows really fast, right?
Yeah.
So where's the kind of dividing line? I have no idea if that's 14 factorial, but it looks like it's working.
It was like 60.
At 16, it gets too big for the int type.
Yeah, 16 is the last one. Just placed properly.
Yeah,
And
16 plus.
17 gives you some kind of borked nonsense.
Gives you
Yep.
less.
Okay. So is too big, parenthetically, 17 seems to be the limit
Check out what I did.
for int types. So it is worth noting, right, that the factorial function grows really, really fast, but you can use it for cool stuff. Like, if you guys knew calculus, we could use it for fun things, like calculating E. But since you don't, I'm going to teach you enough calculus so you can do it anyway, because it's fun. Okay, so. You guys want to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, I think it's
Okay, so I'm going to call in my setup method, I'm going to call the calculate E function. And then I need to write a method to calculate E. So calculate E is going to return a float. That float's going to be E. And it's going to take some stuff. Wait, no, it's not. Why isn't it going to take anything? Yeah, because 1, I didn't tell it to, and 2, because E should just be a number, right? It doesn't depend on anything. So the cool thing about E is that you can define it as return 1 plus 1 over, let's see. So I'm going to maybe need to write a divide method. Let's see if this works. Factorial of 1 plus 1 over factorial of 2 plus 1 over factorial of 3. Let me stop there. Anybody foresee a problem here?
We'll go on infinitely. Every time for a while.
Yeah, 1, this is going to go on for a while. 2, I probably should have just written a for loop for this. You guys see that? That probably would have been smarter. Let me just check that the math is working here. I should get like 1, 2 and a half and plus a 6th. So at the very least, so let me take this one out. So to here, I should get 2.5, right? So let's just check. Oops, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't change my text box at all. So I want to change my text box to printing out the result of calculating E. Ooh, wait. Huh? That should clearly be 2.5.
Text forces it to an infinitely.
It's not the text thing. It's right here. It's this guy. This is dividing an integer by by another integer, so it's doing integer math. If you put in a 0.0 there, it'll kick the right thing.
That's stupid. I hate it.
that is stupid and we can all hate it. It depends on the language you're in. Some of them are better about this than others, but it's worth noting that if you're having problems with doing math in a program, you might want to check whether the language you're in has good math with typing. And if it doesn't, then you kind of gotta make some hack. And the hack is usually just adding a 0.0 to an integer to make it think about that integer as a float. Right? All I'm doing there is just giving the program a little nudge saying, think about 1 as a float, not an integer. Because if it takes the integer 1 and divides by 2, it gets the integer 0 back as an answer. So let me refine this. How can I make this a for loop? Oops, I probably don't want to make my e an integer. So I'm going to start e at 1. And then I'm going to do for how do for loops work?
E equals 1, E is less than, whatever you want to be less than, and then E plus 1.
Okay, so I'm going to start with an integer I instead of using E in there, because I want to keep E as the variable that I'm trying to calculate E as, right? So I already started E at 1, so it has this part. And then I want to do, for integers I, starting at 1, and being less than, where did it get borked?
Semicolon, not comma.
Oh, thank you. So starting at 1 and ending at, well, 17 was the limit for my factorial function, right? So I probably want to keep this less than 18. So it'll stop at the last one. And increasing, I want to do E is wait. So I'd like to take 1 and add 1 over factorial done to 1, right? So I'm going to do E, right, the 1 I started with, plus equals. Maybe it would be easier to write it this way. E is the thing you had before, plus 1 divided by factorial of I. You guys all see that? And then the return at the end here should be E, right? You guys all see that? So what's this thing going to do? When the method's called, it declares E to be 1. And then it loops through adding E plus 1 over the factorial of the step it's at. And should get, oh crap. Why is it returning 2 again? Yeah, I forgot to do the hacky thing to typecast this into a float. 2.718. And if I wanted better accuracy, because the text box only prints a couple of spaces, we could throw this in a print line. So for better accuracy, down in this guy, I got 2.718282. And if I go to Google's, no, E, nothing else. What? Come on.
Yeah, I need to type in Euler's number.
There we go. E equals what? So I got 2.71828, and then it rounded the rest of this.
I got infinity.
You got infinity?
I managed to create infinity over 20.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
171 is the point where processing decides
Oh, yeah.
that factorial is infinity.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Just print
Oops,
out
that's
infinity, even if you
this
want
one?
to print out a number.
So what did you do? You changed this 18 to
Well, it might be 172.
something
The
big?
100 is working. So, what or 100? Huh.
That is super fun. I did not know processing would do that. What's hilarious about that is that that should not have given infinity anyway.
It's 7
So that should have just printed out the same E that I had before. I'm a little bit confused as to why the factorials are getting big, right? But I'm dividing by something that's big. I think one of them it gave 0, right? So after it overflowed the integer type, it gave 0, and then it did 1 divided by 0. And it apparently processing hilariously returns infinity for that. So let me just try that theory here. So my theory is that if I put in 1.0 divided by 0, that it's going to print out infinity in the... So I'm going to turn that back off so it... So it should get E in the text box and... Oh. And hilariously, it prints out the symbol infinity, not the word infinity.
And then it prints out the word infinity and you get.
Yeah, in the print line, it'll print out an infinity with a capital I, and out here it prints out this symbol for infinity. That is hilarious. I have no... That is a new one on me. Cool. All right. That's what I needed for today.